Thanks for tuning in. My name is Ingrid Lemmy, and this is my show, American Dream. A show about people, their hopes, their dreams, their family heritage, and their unbelievable realities. My guest today is actually two people. A very famous rock musician and his wife, PJ. We can actually call them a rock and roll couple. Come on, give them a hand. Thank you, Ingrid. Yes, we have Joe Delia. Some call you Joe.
Yeah, sure.
And PJ, his wife, on the show today together. We wanted to show and feature them as they are, as a couple of 18 years you guys are together, right?
18 years.
And you met in Montauk, is that right?
We did. I had been living in Montauk and going into the Memory Motel from time to time.
Yeah.
Just to play piano.
Yeah. Now, for everybody out there who's watching who doesn't know about the Memory Motel, that's the Memory Motel.
Right.
The one where the Stones
Yes.
and we're rocking.
Yes. Right. I've heard that history. Yeah.
So tell me.
No, so I was in there. I would go in from time to time, like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
There was a woman named, I think, Roberta, who owned the place, and I would go and she'd say, she actually, I would go in for a beer, I have to admit. And
So what, 5 o'clock?
yeah, right. So I would ride my bicycle from Hither Hills and go over. And there was a piano, and I sat down. And she was, oh my gosh, she played the piano.
Yeah, there's Joey, and he's
then
playing.
through that summer, I would just go in, and I wasn't working there. I would just go in and play a couple of tunes on the piano, and she would give me beer.
Good.
And I met this young lady there
There
one
was
night
PJ.
in the afternoon. It was very
Yeah.
lovely, and we've been...
He zeroed right in on me.
Really?
He pointed at me from the piano.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how it worked?
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew I was in trouble.
Yeah.
Instantly.
And so you were in love with him?
I did. I fell in love with him right away.
Yeah.
And a year later, we had a son named Jake.
Boy, these
Yeah.
guys got to work instantly.
Really, maybe 2 years later. That was 95.
Yeah.
So Jake was born in 97.
Was that already the time you had the golden, the platinum? Did
Yes.
you were already famous at that point?
Well, I don't know about famous, but I had been
Yeah, he was.
working. I had
Famous.
been
He was
working
famous.
through my, adulthood. Really.
Yeah.
Actually, I started quite young doing it, but I had been working as a studio musician and as a composer and
Yeah.
a performer.
Had already a
Well,
big name.
Yeah, I've been working. I had a nice.
I mean, there
career
is
doing
so. What was the feeling like? This man was obviously well accomplished, had a name in a completely different world, a world you weren't so familiar with, the world of rock and roll, PJ.
Yeah, I was working in law at the time. And we started slamming into each other instead of just bumping into each other. We just kept bumping into each other all over Montauk. And I suddenly realized who he was. And he had a huge hit record very recently. And he was still all over
Which
the
one
airways.
was that?
Well, he was still all over the airways with Hot, Hot, Hot.
Yeah.
And, now everyone knows the song
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
every wedding you go to. Someone has a conga line and plays Hot, Hot, Hot.
Yes, yes.
So it was startling, but he was so sweet and so down to earth and so not expecting adulation that,
Well,
what could I say?
Just in case David Johansen or Arrow are listening, I did not write the song,
No.
but I was a musical director and the arranger on the record, and it was a nice period, and it was a.
Yeah.
it was
He
a
wrote the
successful-
arrangement that made it a hit.
Hot, Hot, Hot is, until today, will always be a hit.
Yes.
Now, by the way, how does that work? All these years later, are you still getting certain...
I think
Retainer?
as the arranger and the piano player, and I don't know if I was credited as conductor probably, and maybe the music contractor. There are union contracts that go in on all of that stuff. So there are residuals on it, but not writing residuals. But it's been really great. I remember after the record came out, the musicians would call and ask if I knew the actual lyrics to the song, because it had become such a standard that every band around was playing the song, and it's still to this day played. You can walk into it.
Was there a time where others weren't allowed to play it because it was still under your umbrella?
No, there's actually there's a legal term. It's called a compulsory license.
Thank you for explaining that to us,
No,
please.
which is if a song is recorded once, it's open to the public.
I see.
There's a
See,
compulsory
I didn't know
license.
that.
So as long as it's done once, we have songs on our record now that have been released and and published, and they're wide open to anyone recording it.
Right.
And most composers are happy to have someone cover their material. So.
Yeah, because it is obviously you are accomplished. They like what you're doing. Yeah.
And they have to pay you
And they have to pay you.
when they play your song.
Actually, with Hot Hot Hot, it was David Johansen who was called Buster Poindexter. It was his character that he had. And I was at his apartment after this song started breaking, and Arrow, who was a Caribbean artist who actually wrote the song, called in because there was all this fuss about the song and David's version of the song. And I think that he didn't realize how well he was going to do with the success of this song. It had been a hit in the Caribbean, but now it was, it was a broader
Taking on the world.
It was, and Arrow called David, and I was sitting right there,
Yeah.
and he started kind of cursing him out, having recorded his song. And I don't think he quite understood that
Yes.
this was actually a good thing for him.
Yes.
I'm sure that eventually.
Later on, he eventually got it. I mean, everybody made money of it, let's face it.
Yes.
He did
It
very
was-
well.
Yes.
He did
Big
very
hit,
well.
probably didn't have to work again.
No, I'm sure he
Probably
still doesn't.
You know.
Right.
But and now Under the Montauk Moon,
Yeah.
which is playing on the radio locally and starting to creep
Yes.
up Long Island.
That's,
That was a tricky little segue.
Well, and now people are starting to record it and play it around here.
Yeah.
One gentleman I spoke with yesterday, lovely man, added some extra lyrics, some more
Under the
love
Montauk
lyrics.
Moon, on the way of becoming a world hit. Everybody wants to be in Montauk, loves Montauk, and loves these tunes. It's an amazing, wonderful song.
Right.
Why Montauk Moon? How did it come about?
PJ had come up to me and said, I have an idea for a song. It actually was her
Doing?
lyric idea.
Yeah.
She said, I have this idea. You should write a song called Aimless and Immortal by the Sea. And I
Just
said,
reminds me of Montauk.
And I said, that's a very cerebral, E.E. Cummings kind of take on things. And I don't know if it's really a song title, a rock and roll song title.
Yeah.
But I think it triggered something in my head, just as a visual or whatever it was, or a lyric. And I don't know where these things come from, but I wrote it very quickly. I wrote it maybe in an hour.
Really?
And I wanted, and then as I looked at the lyric, I was thinking, this is not Aimless and Immortal by the Sea. But I wanted to get the line in because I thought it was very poetic.
Right.
And we actually used it sort of as a payoff line to all of this narrative, right? And I went upstairs and I said, hey, honey, take a look at this. And she read it. She said, it's really good. And she said, but it's called Under the Montauk Moon.
Yeah.
And so that actually became a song. But it was written very, very quickly and surprisingly well in some way. And the song.
What do you mean surprisingly? It's an awesome song. We love it.
I agree.
Yes.
He just ran with the idea and just did it.
We have for anyone who doesn't know Montauk, and we know Montauk, and we know the characters are really more the town than the people per se, although there's some people who are mentioned. We mentioned Nancy Adams.
By the way, characters. Did anybody ever tell you you look like Mick Jagger?
I've never heard that.
Never before. Okay. Just want to.
No, actually I have. That's a whole other story. The characters in the song, Montauk is really the main character.
Yeah.
The town of Montauk. So I think that it comes out as sort of a depiction of Montauk. We talk about going by Liar's Saloon and the Memory Motel.
Everything in it.
Yeah, the Memory Motel is in there. There are a few people who are actually mentioned, but it's more of this sort of take on wintertime, this time of year.
Yes.
And eventually the sun breaks out and everything is better. But it's been really nice. And one of the things that I love about playing the song here is that people know the song. People sing along with a song that I wrote, which is It doesn't.
We have a word for this in Europe. It's called an earworm. Did you ever hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I love that.
Guys, we have to take a break, or we're never going to hear the end of these guys here behind the cameras. So please, guys, take a break. So do we.
Org.
Thanks for staying with us, PJ, Joe Delia. Some call him Joe. I call him always Joey. Joe Delia.
I love that.
On the American Dream Show at Gurney's, in overlooking this amazing ocean. The rocker couple. That's what they call you guys. I mean, just by looking at you and seeing how you're dressed, you guys, hey, I mean, you fit. I couldn't imagine anybody better than you both together. Sometimes when I see PJ going on the stage and singing with you, I'm like, oh my God, these guys are one. So that's it. It really is. You can feel it, we can feel it, the audience can feel it.
Well, thank you.
PJ, what's it like? What's it like when he writes? Do you have to hide when he writes, or?
He's amazing. He, like, every cell in his body is music. He could never have done anything else. And he writes like Bob Dylan. I should explain this, though. Bob Dylan, in the beginning of his career, Bob Dylan used to agonize over his songs and work through them and work through them. And then after he decided at one point not to write anymore, he wrote Like a Rolling Stone, and that came out in 45 minutes.
Yes.
And that's a very long, huge song where he coined phrases, and it's part of the American landscape now. He writes like that. He decides, he gets an idea, and then he just does it. It just comes out of some part of
Montauk
him, or
Moon.
every cell of him.
Under the Montauk Moon.
Under the Montauk.
That one came out like that.
Yeah, love that song. Yeah, an earworm. Boy.
Yeah.
I want to go into let me go a little further back before PJ came around and stole your heart. The Muppets.
The Muppets. That was way before meeting PJ. I've been around for a while, in case you haven't noticed. But
and we were also told that there were a few girlfriends, but you never were that in love.
she's always been number one.
He's very smart.
My heart is fluttering right now.
Muppets.
The Muppets, that's so interesting.
You were in love with Miss Piggy, we know that.
Miss Piggy? No, it was way before Miss Piggy. I'm telling you, I had forgotten about having done that, because I was so young when that assignment came in. I mean, I was still in like middle school or something. It was that far back. And I had a band with my brothers, and we were on a regional level, we were quite successful, and we'd been signed by Sid Bernstein, who was the man who brought the Beatles to the United States.
Really?
And he loved us. We were these long-haired kids. We were a brothers act. We were called the Brothers. And he got us a deal with RCA Records and all this stuff. There were all these nice things that came, and Sid was a person who could open any door just by picking up the phone.
Right.
So we would get these situations, and he called and he said, go down and meet this guy, Jim Henson. And no one knew who he was when we went down to this loft in Manhattan. And he explained to us what the Muppets were, because the public didn't know. This was before
The Muppets were what the Muppets were.
And we spoke to Jim, and he was very charming, and he said, we need a 60-second song, and we do this puppet thing, this Muppet thing.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I think like every other family in America, we were sitting in front of the TV on Sunday night, and this thing came up, and it was me singing the song that I had written with my brothers.
Yeah.
And this wonderful, funny
Yeah.
bit that came on. So it was
On the Ed Sullivan Show.
Can you believe
So
it?
I had forgotten all about this
Yes.
until, recently when we started playing out.
What was it
here,
like
and
meeting Ed Sullivan?
I didn't meet Ed Sullivan. But
It's just
he
that your
introduced-
music-
Yes.
I see. I
Well,
got it.
but
I got it.
we were on there. I was the voice of this character, and
I'm
I
getting
had
it, yeah.
forgotten all about this until we started touring around here and doing shows like yours, and people started asking me about the Muppets, and I was like, the Muppets, I'd really forgotten about this. And it turns out that this was it was the debut performance nationally of the Muppets. It was the very first one.
Really?
And PJ somehow...
The first Muppet. I'm married to a Muppet.
Really? PJ somehow... she somehow uncovered it online.
Yeah.
And it must have been taken from kinescopes or something. It was that long ago. It had to be 65
Isn't that
66,
amazing, guys? Isn't that cool?
So that
I gotta tell you, your wife is such a social media person. She
Yes.
is such a I mean, she is your greatest PR, the greatest PR person you could possibly have.
it's wonderful.
First of all, her heart is at the right place,
Yes.
and she obviously loves her client.
Yeah.
But PJ is just there on target. She's always promoting. She knows exactly what to do.
It's-
It is mind-boggling.
No, it's really, it's really
I'm
wonderful.
just following your lead. I watch you.
It's really wonderful.
PJ learned a lot, right?
From watching you.
Yeah,
You're
from
amazing.
Social media is really something else, but nothing compares to seeing Joe Delia, the Thieves,
At Thieves, yes.
performing, for instance, right at the ocean
Yep.
at Gurney's in the summer.
Yes.
That rocks. That absolutely rocks. That's the epitome of a summer party in the Hamptons. It's just absolutely amazing.
It's wonderful. And the band, not to cut you off, but the band had come about as a project. You know, other people, you know, reach
The
a certain
Thieves,
point.
yes.
Yeah, other people reach a certain point in life, and they go to warmer climes. You know, Boca
Yeah.
Raton or
Got
something
you,
to
of
play
course.
golf. My golf game is terrible, so I started a rock and roll band,
Yeah.
and we called it Thieves. And PJ has been
Great
has
support.
been booking it, and she's been.
You know what I also see is, like, for instance, you put together the Joe Delia orchestra.
Yeah.
Or Joe Delia orchestra.
Right.
And that was such a success.
Yes.
New Year's Eve here at
New
Gurney,
Year's,
such a
it was
success.
it was
People
wonderful.
were on the tables, they were on the bars,
Right.
and it was amazing. There was something that was feeding off each
Yes.
other.
Right.
It was like they were celebrating you.
It was a wonderful
It
night.
might.
We played. It was we sort of resurrected a concept that we had going before, which was called Killer Joe. I had a band in the '90s, and it was a larger band. It had horns and singers, and we played R&B and jump blues and all of this kind of stuff. And Paul and I talked, and we thought it would be a nice idea to bring this concept into Gurney's for New Year's.
Yeah.
So it was sort of the reinvention of the Killer Joe band, and we were kind of calling it the Killer Joe Orchestra.
It
So
really
we-
was.
Killer
so-
Joe is back.
No, and it was
Yes.
such a nice night. It was a wonderful way to bring in 2013. You know, so
Special night.
yeah, special.
It was
night.
everything
really
about
great.
that party was just amazing.
People
And
loved
golden.
it.
It
James
was a
Bond.
golden party.
James Bond.
James Bond.
Yes.
50 years, Gurney's 50
Yep.
years, and then 50 years Bond anniversary. I mean, it was a night to kill. And by the way, everybody was dressed in gold. And on that note, we're going to take a break. Is that okay?
You got it.
That's a great.
On the American Dream Show at Gurney's in Montauk, overlooking this amazing ocean, and under the Montauk moon,
Yes.
our rock and roll couple, Joe and PJ Delia.
Yep.
Guys, we have a couple of minutes left, not much, because of course all of us finally want to hear the song. We talked so much about it. And what we really need at this point is, we know about your relationship, we know what it's like, or we heard what it's like to work together, to be together, and when he writes. PJ, what's it like when you guys are fighting? What's it like?
God.
Now, there's a surprise question.
Now that is-
It's very creative.
Very
I
creative.
would say that things come out of left field, but we always make up.
Yeah.
Before it gets old, before it has a chance to become permanent.
There is somebody who told you, or many who told you, this is not gonna last with you guys. Remember
Yes.
that?
Yep.
Okay. Well, you proved them wrong. It did last. And it's gonna last until the rest of your life. You know,
18 years this year.
18 years.
And going strong.
And
We
going
Yeah,
strong.
we have a wonderful life. Life is
Life is
Life
good.
is good.
yeah.
And I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. You just gave me such chills.
You know, it's easy to understand and easy to say that here are two people who are completely dedicated to each other and to your music. Yeah, so it's like you're rocking the house, period. You're rocking the beach. That's what we advertise when you are out here. Joe Delia is rocking the beach. That's what he does. Yeah. PJ, if there's one thing what you absolutely hate about him, what is that?
I don't know.
God.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I could sing and play like him.
Is that what it is?
I really do. I really do. I hunger for it. He just sits down and it just happens.
Yeah.
And I crave that. And he's starting to teach me.
Good.
And he's taught our son too.
Yeah.
So we have a little 15-year-old pianist.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That looks like
so
him.
it's in the family?
Yes.
It's in the family. Now, don't tell me he looks like you. Because you know you look like Mick Jagger, right? She. It is insane. It is insane. I bet that happened to you before, that you walked over the street and people said, listen, are you Mick Jagger, or give me an autograph?
Very quickly. It happened one day in Montauk. You know, because for years, I mean, I'm a musician. I sort of look like a musician.
The
I always
role,
have.
yeah.
But from time to time, I would hear some comment over the years, but very occasionally. And one day, I walked out on the street in Montauk 3 years ago, and from that day on, a day has not gone by, and I don't know what it is. It was something changed a little bit in my face or something.
You've gotten older.
I think that might be what it is. And I walked out on the street, and from that day on, I don't think a day has gone by where I don't hear that comment. Something was all fun and wacky.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
absurd sometimes.
It's amazing,
but
really.
yeah,
it's like looking at you, it's like, oh. Well, on that note, guys, I'm going to say goodbye, and we couldn't put Joe Delia on his piano for Under the Montauk Moon.
Yes. Excellent.
Well, a northeast wind comes roaring down a mid-October night. They boarded up the storefronts and turned out all the lights. So I rode right past old Shagwan, let's call it Liar's Saloon, and 3 guys outside looking for a fight tonight under the Montauk moon. The surfers down at East Deck waiting for a swell. Harley's revving east on 27 like they're headed straight to hell. And the locals hate all the idiots who come out in droves by June. The hand that feeds them really feels the bite tonight under the Montauk moon. Well, the winter's gonna be a cold one. They say the worst is yet to come. People stocking up their pantries, loading up their guns. But darkness will fade and the sun will shine, and not a minute soon. Nancy Atlas, she'll be strumming with all her might tonight under the Montauk moon. Baby, you're all that I need. Our love is holding the key. Baby, you're all that I want. Aimless and immortal by the sea. Hawaiian Ed sits on a bench looking vacant. He plays his ukulele well. And then some wealthy socialite comes by, and it's very hard to tell if she's really from old money or if a pedigree is just a game she plays for kicks to get her drinks and dinner free. Now Main Street's cold and empty, and not a soul around. was just a ghost of Andy Warhol, acting like he owns the town. And there ain't no 20-somethings listening to no memory motel tune. Not a living soul in sight tonight under the Montauk moon. Aimless and immortal by the sea,